Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the Pumpkin Queen, and I hereby welcome y'all to tonight's narration. Every Saturday, I will narrate for you now a chapter from a book, starting with the Cain Letters, written by Pierre Roustan. If you enjoy the story, be sure to check out his website and buy his book on Amazon. And with that said, let's grab some tea and huddle around the fireplace, as I will tell you the tale of the Cain Letters. Chapter 1. Undead revenants, fierce and bloodthirsty beasts, always traveled in secret. Vampires never made a sound. Humans rarely knew where they were prey for the damned as well. Shadows they were. Shadows they'd been in the beginning of time. Underneath the breath and thoughts of mortality hid the secret nations of vampires, a race the dark souls intent and abiding by a code, a contemporary set of rules of conduct not like the primitive ways when the world was young and man was younger. Countless centuries ago, vampires used to not only feed but kill without mercy. They were animalistic. Not so anymore. The code spoke of eat to live, not live to eat. Be shadows of the night, be one with the darkness, and never let in the night. In essence, for centuries leading up to modern times, vampires hid in secret. A quiet, yet conscious respect for the nourishment, the tender flesh of mortals. The code never stood alone though. With it sat two councils of the world, hidden away of mortal eyes. One was the First Blood Council of Russia, forged of freezing fires in the icy wasteland. The other was the First Blood Council of South America, hidden in the darkness of the Adian mountain ranges. One council enforced the code and upheld the sanctity of the vampire on the east side of the world. The other controlled the west side of the globe. Both were not alike in ambition, demonial respect of the fellow brethren. However, most notably, the Council of Russia, respect for the sacredness of the vampire stretched in many directions, some questionable. As it stood, the state of Eastern Vampire Nation shook the pillars of heaven and hell, from setting suns to rising moons. Calvins warred with each other. Different breeds disagreed on many issues, such as territory and law, all because of the Council of Russia, and ravaged experiments with twisted nature of turning vampire into a project of discovery, creating new breeds, unheard of many, thankfully unseen by innocent eyes, and unknown to only the noblest of purebloods, infected the dark minds. Slowly, the council fed on their own greed and the rape of their own nature, creating a truly victious breed among many, the Thrall. Deep in the bowels of Shinkov, a ship sailing on the Atlantic, the crew members had stored an endless row of massive cargo crates. Runaway mice inhabited the darkness. Piles of dust, and more piles of dust atop every cargo box infected the air. A fluorescent lightning around the entire room lit the way in case of every seaman did an inventory or checked the leaks in the hull. Strange that the Thrall could possibly be lurking in the shadows of the cargo hold, waiting to tear flesh, drink blood, destroy life, and the crewmen wouldn't even know. At least, not until their necks were ripped out. When a victim drinks blood of a living vampire, the dark gift takes over. They become like them, thralls. However, were different. They were mortals forced to drink dead vampire blood. The horror that was the gift of the host didn't translate to a parasite. It was a sick infection, a curse. That vampiric beauty became a twisted mutation, flesh wrinkling hideously, and their minds breaking into savagery, very much like the ancient vampires of hidden time and past, the forgotten, the unacceptable. Unfortunately, not only was the thrall an unacceptable breed, it was also spreading like wildfire. It grew in numbers, while past of the purebloods, some feared, others were mystified, most never even known, except one. His name was Nicholas Stahl, Master Vampire of Russia, representative of the nation within continuance of works of the council. He absolutely loaded with infestation of thralls. More passion and hatred fed his fire than that of most human blood. He became a terrifying adversary, so much that he even opposed the council on many occasions. Bitterness raged, thralls gathered, a war to come. And it was all from Nicholas' hands. Even in the head of the convening body himself, the dark calling couldn't reign in Nicholas. The Minister of Shadows, Master Vampire charged with the menace of rogues and reckless breeds, didn't agree with him much. The Guardians, with their mysterious ways, soldiers of the Council Fortress, couldn't best him in battle when bitter arguments boiled over. Even the Scarlet Sentinels, shadowy priests, attending the dark desires of the ardulous bloodlust, none of them could starve of Nicholas Stahl or his need of purity. It was unfortunate for him, however, that in great numbers the thralls of Vampire Nation hunted him down. Naturally, the council did nothing about it. Nicholas fled Russia, but he had one mission, a very private, passionate, powerful one. It was a mission that could give him the power not only to end all thralls, but to overtake the council that had opposed him so many times. He would obtain the greatest of glory. He would become the master of all. The saber in the sky cut through the night as clean as a killing blade would, if it had a history of blood behind its hilt. The streak of lightning reflected the thoughts of Nicholas and his secret mission. Stars, like drops of bright blood, shed from the blade's glowing steel, glistering, reflecting in raging waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Nothing held peace. The rising fall of the waves resembled unducting rolls of liquid fire hissing left and right. The clouds toiled around the moon and stars like a cloak, suffocating the light and hearkening in darkness. The rain wailed, burst eardrums and hearts with constant drone of percussion, blast after blast, atop of Chicago. It headed toward the port of New York to deliver goods. Men toiled as the ocean toyed with the ship, foamy waters crashing against the starboard side boil over its bow. The crew on board didn't expect a storm that soon. Nevertheless, they re-dyed themselves. They had turned on the lights, the skipper manned, and radar and satellite, staying on course, unwavered by gale. In the haze of howling winds, ripping rain and tearing waves, the men hollered commands to each other, and hands were on alert. Never faltering, good men never falter, not when it involved goods, or the invaluable materials the ship carried. Strange the lack of care some men tended to take with goods. A scrawled signature to the ship's manifest, a check mark as the cargo was lifted on board and stowed. But they never really checked. Who knew what they carried out? History was transist, in cargo or on planes, had carried numerous unknown all the time, not unheard of. And most of the times, authorities neglected or at least remedied unknown, such as India's inspect of plant lives, or curable diseases after passing through customs. One of the containers in the hold blasted open and a spawn of sawdust, wood splinters twirling around in the musty air. Naked, heaving, powerful, a slender man stood in the middle of the debris, eyes like a cigarette light of flames, and eyebrows pointing down to the bridge of his nose. His silvery hair reached down his lower back and reflected his fluorescent lights, making the room brighter. He checked the other boxes around him to find that none of them had been tampered with or damaged. They carried the rest of his belongings: clothes, treasures, china, blankets, pillows and heirlooms. He hadn't planned on a vacation. Not that it was a holiday. He was on his way to his new home, the United States. For a long time, he hungered for godly treasure, a sacred book, if not his bloodlust. He spent the whole trip in a box, conserving his strength, letting time melt away so he could continue his personal mission in America. Some seamen shouted through the ceiling. Waves smashed into the hull as it creaked and groaned again. Nicholas swung each way, wary of every noise and whisper. He felt more vulnerable in the middle of the room, and he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that someone or something watched him. He crouched in his broken box, staring up, forehead creasing, waiting. Something else hid in the shadows of his room. He felt it. Squealing mice scurried past. He shifted, following their pattern. Not the mice, he thought. He felt a heat of danger rise inside his body as his eyes buried in fury. Someone hunted him. He knew it. Above all things, the prize, soon to be his, would be in danger of landing into someone else's hands. Unacceptable. He will let the sun ravage him before anyone else acquire the one thing, the one truth. Nicholas! A clawed blur shot out from the darkness, reaching for Nicholas's throat. In a breath, he blinked and crossed his arms, meeting the mysterious thrust with the iron-like hands clutched cold, wrinkled, leathered skin, and tossing the figure away. The blur growled as it scrambled up. Nicholas's eyes widened to better catch sight of the attacker. He couldn't think fast enough as it crawled towards him. The beast smashed the crate with steak knife-sized talons. Nicholas leaped backwards, growling at it. He landed on top of a box with one knee, hair falling into his eyes. Bladed teeth bared, he waited for the monster to come after him. It hopped into the air, claws out in a maddening frenzy. Nicholas snatched both arms and stood his ground. The force of impact caused the crate to almost tip over as the vampire and beast locked together, vying for an advantage. The anger and survival hanging on him. Nicholas stared into the eyes of the wretched demon. The beast smiled hideously. Its putrid, discolored face and bright feral eyes begged to dive into his flesh and kill. Its horrific body, covered in loose, tangled brown hair and long claws ached to pierce his eyes and taste his blood and brain. The creature drooled hot saliva, growling, roaring, pressing, hating. Nicholas hauled as he strained to lift the monster over his head, breaking the battle of strength. He tossed the clear across the room, smashing the fluorescent light on the far side. The breakage rendered the room of mass, sporadic light and dark. Nicholas lost sight of the beast. He crouched on the box, heaving, teeth bared, muscles tightened into something raw and ripped. His unbreakable focus glanced at the spot where he threw it off, holding his breath. Death waited. As the light flickered, he saw nothing. The room went dark. Light flashed back on, and the beast stood in front of him, fronting at the mouth. Nicholas gasped, cutting both arms and pounding double backhand, knocking the beast into the delirium for a few seconds. He roared, his saliva starting to drip down his fangs as the monster reeled. The creature snapped, widening his eyes. It drove one talon into the shoulder blade. Blood splattered, flesh tore. It gritted its teeth, grunting pain. Pain didn't seethe in him. Rather, the thought of being pinned by such a wretched abomination sent the fury into the heavens, staring into his eyes. The fluorescent light like lightning. It spoke. It will be mine, Nicholas. Its voice, a wild whisper, bled into his ears and brought up even more fury. The monster grinned again, sensing a true victory. No creature could stop Nicholas from his quest. Come, all evil things. He would find his prize and claim it for himself. No beast will have his glory. Nicholas screamed as the wave crashed into his side of the hole, tearing out the monster's talon and tossing the thrall onto one of the containers, shattering it. The creature hauled, and it bled from the point where the talon had snapped off. Without taking a breath, he broke up the 2 strips of wood and leapt towards the beast, driving the 2 pieces into the beast's arms, pinning it to a box. It hauled again, blood rupturing from both arms. Nicholas wrapped a hand around the throat, subduing it. Death would indeed come, but not for Nicholas, not before he received answers. Ferris, I presume, he said. The monster spat, gnashing out at him, unable to sink his teeth into his smooth, bare skin. Nicholas stayed his fury for just a moment. He had felt sure no one followed him. It apparently didn't pay to trust his own senses. He feared this wasn't his own personal quest for glory any longer, but had become a chase with him and the prey. The thrills of Mother Russia are after me, are they not? He asked. Ferris stared before he began to laugh, while Nicholas stewed over his unanswered question. Nicholas took deep breaths, still feeling the sting of Ferris' broken talon in his shoulder. Strange that you laughed, Ferris, knowing I've pinned you here. Ferris snarled. You're obvious, Nicholas. You have no idea what you face. Nicholas twisted the wood in Ferris's wounds. The thrall howled in pain. I do, indeed. I face a mindless monster with too much pride to talk. Would rather die next to him in a box. You will never find it, and the thralls of the world would overcome the vampire nation when we are the ones to claim it. We are tired of your petty oppression. You're all abominations, mere abominations. My brethren, including breeds, will come after you, Ferris said, cackling. Nicholas glared. Breeds? How come that profession of nature know where I am? Ferris met his gaze with an icy glare. We know everything, the thrall said. Sometimes, just sometimes, it is a benefit to lurk in the shadows as we do. And why is that? Ferris laughed. We have secrets better. Nicholas growled, feeling his face burn with heat. His voice grew a little darker as he breathed. Ferris ridiculed him with those cold, wild eyes, cracked lips, long nose, wrinkled skin, and jagged teeth. To Nicholas, Ferris's life was no more than an embarrassment to the proud vampire nation. He let go of the wood, flexing his fingers to point at Ferris's chest. Doesn't matter, Ferris. I will find it. I will find the one who knows of it. Nicholas drove his fingers deep into Ferris's chest cavity, exploding the thrall's ribcage. Ferris gasped for breath, shaking madly at the pain. And when Breed finds me, he will meet the same end as yours. Nicholas had pierced Ferris's heart with his nails and felt the quickening of the blood blast throughout his organs. The thrall's body went limp. Its heart ceased, the blood slowing down, but not stopping as it poured out of the wounds. Between every flash of light, Nicholas growled, driving its finger deeper inside. As his Ferris's quick death didn't satisfy him, his simple act of invasion, the need of kill, to take and to dominate, that mattered more than a death. Nicholas smiled with glee at exploring Ferris' insides. He had enough, ripped his hand out, leaving Ferris there. Nicholas stood with the talon still stuck in his shoulder. Blood stained his naked body. He couldn't help but wonder how many more of the thralls would come after him. With his opposite hand, he grabbed the talon and pulled it, pieces of flesh coming out, blood drooling down the side of his chest. Nicholas clenched his teeth, unable to make a fist. His arm tightened with the rush of anguish. No worries. After all, he was irrelevant, a master vampire. Nicholas walked towards the stairs, where he still heard the seamen above. The storm never left. He felt the waves crash into the hull. The flashing light entranced him to walk up the stairs. He was a vampire. Again, he felt a heave of hunger well inside him. This time, it wasn't the heave of mere anger and the drive to kill. This was bloodlust. In time, his wounds would heal with enough rest and enough blood.